Imagine this. The world is on fire. Bombs are falling. Oil prices are spiking. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow passage through which 1/5 of the world's oil flows, is being choked shut. And in the middle of all this chaos, one country quietly picks up the phone. It calls Washington, it calls Tehran, it calls both. That country is Pakistan. And what happened next is one of the most fascinating and complicated diplomatic stories of 2026. Pakistan helped broker a ceasefire between the United States and Iran. Both Trump and Iran's foreign minister publicly credited Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir for making it happen. The world breathed a sigh of relief. Islamabad was being called an indispensable mediator by the Council on Foreign Relations. Al Jazeera called it a remarkable role change for a country once viewed with deep suspicion on the global stage. But while the applause was still going, something quietly happened behind the scenes. Days before Pakistan had helped secure a ceasefire in the Iran war, the United Arab Emirates was seeking repayment of a $3.5 billion deposit from Islamabad's central bank. No warning, no gradual phase-out, just give us our money back. So today we're asking the question that's on everyone's mind. Did the UAE pull $3.5 billion from Pakistan because of its peace efforts? Or is the real story far more complicated than that? Let's break it down. Part 1. How Pakistan became the world's unlikely peacemaker. To understand why this moment matters, you have to understand how Pakistan even got here. For years, Pakistan had been viewed as a pariah state. Just saying its name brought to mind political instability, military rule, domestic insurgencies, and the constant threat of war with neighboring India. The country had few real partners other than China. So how did this same country end up hosting direct talks between the United States and Iran? Something no other nation had achieved in nearly 5 decades? The answer lies in geography, relationships, and timing. Pakistan hosts no U.S. military bases and is one of the few countries that maintains working relationships with both Washington and Tehran. That rare combination made it uniquely positioned to serve as a bridge when no one else could. There were also deeply practical reasons for Pakistan to push for peace. The Pakistan-Iran border stretches nearly 1,000 kilometers, meaning a full-scale war would directly destabilize Pakistan's border regions. Pakistan is also highly dependent on Middle Eastern oil, and any disruption to the Strait of Hormuz would directly threaten its energy supply. On top of that, approximately 5 million Pakistani citizens work in the Gulf region, and their remittances form a vital pillar of the country's foreign exchange earnings. In short, Pakistan needed this war to end, not just for moral reasons, but for its own survival. The Financial Times reported that the U.S. itself pushed Pakistan to broker a temporary ceasefire in early April. Pakistan delivered a 15-point peace proposal from Washington to Tehran. When Iran rejected it, Pakistan came back with a new framework, then another. The negotiations went back and forth for weeks. The Islamabad peace talks, held on April 11th and 12th, 2026, were moderated by Pakistan and brought together a 300-member U.S. negotiating team led by Vice President J.D. Vance, alongside Special Envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, and a 70-member Iranian team led by Parliamentary Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf and Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. Trump confirmed that he agreed to the ceasefire based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, adding that they had requested that I hold off the destructive force being sent tonight to Iran. Iran's Foreign Minister Araghchi said Iran accepted the ceasefire in response to the brotherly request of Prime Minister Sharif. Both sides credited Pakistan. The world noticed. Part 2. The $3.5 billion question. Now here's where it gets complicated. Last week, the State Bank of Pakistan confirmed that it had repaid a $1 billion deposit to the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development on April 23rd. This followed an earlier return of $2.45 billion, bringing the total repayment to $3.45 billion. According to reports, the UAE's decision to call back the funds came as a surprise to both Pakistani authorities and the International Monetary Fund. This was particularly notable because Abu Dhabi had previously assured that it would not seek repayment before the conclusion of Pakistan's IMF program in 2027. Let that sink in. The UAE had made a commitment to Pakistan and to the IMF that it would not ask for this money back until 2027. Then, in the middle of a geopolitical storm, it changed course. The withdrawal equated to roughly 21% of Pakistan's foreign exchange reserves. For a country already under economic pressure, this was not a minor inconvenience. It was a serious financial jolt. The move was accompanied by a wave of criticism on Emirati social media directed at Islamabad. When our security is directly threatened, we hear diplomacy, but not clarity, read one typical response. Friendship is tested in moments like these, and today many of us are simply asking, where do you stand? Part 3. Why did the UAE do it? Now here's the honest answer. We don't know for certain. The UAE has not issued any official statement directly linking the loan recall to Pakistan's mediation. Pakistan's foreign ministry called it a routine financial transaction, but analysts and credible reporting tell a more nuanced story. Neil Quilliam, an associate fellow at Chatham House, noted that Abu Dhabi has been uneasy about Islamabad's attempt to maintain a neutral stance amid rising tensions involving Iran. He observed that Pakistan's role as a mediator did not sit well with the UAE, particularly at a time when regional alignments are becoming increasingly polarized. He suggested that Abu Dhabi views the situation in black and white, and therefore perceives Pakistan's middle ground approach as lacking neutrality. In other words, from the UAE's perspective, talking to Iran at all, even to stop a war, looks like choosing a side. An Emirati academic and commentator, Abdul Khalik Abdullah, acknowledged frustration in Abu Dhabi. He pointed out that Pakistan's attempt to position itself as a mediator didn't go down well, though he cautioned that dissatisfaction alone may not fundamentally alter long-term bilateral ties. But there's more to this than just Iran. The UAE is also believed to be concerned about Pakistan's deepening ties with Saudi Arabia. The UAE's increasingly strong ties with India could also be influencing its approach toward Pakistan. Abu Dhabi is much more invested in India and may view the strengthening Saudi Arabia-Pakistan relationship as a potential conflict of interest. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan had formalized their alignment in September 2025, signing a mutual defense agreement described as NATO-like in structure. That agreement sent ripples through Gulf politics, and the UAE, which has its own complicated relationship with Saudi Arabia, particularly over Yemen, took notice. So the loan recall may not have been about one single issue. It may have reflected a buildup of concerns. Pakistan's neutrality on Iran, its growing closeness with Riyadh, and Abu Dhabi's deepening pivot toward New Delhi. Part 4. Saudi Arabia steps. Pakistan didn't collapse under the pressure, and it didn't have to face this alone. Earlier this month, the State Bank of Pakistan received $2 billion from Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Finance, part of a broader financial assistance package aimed at stabilizing Pakistan's foreign exchange reserves. Saudi Arabia stepped in to cushion the blow, lending Pakistan $3 billion and promising a further $5 billion line of credit. The move underlined how firmly Riyadh and Islamabad are now aligned. Riyadh also signaled that its earlier $5 billion deposit would no longer be rolled over under previous terms, effectively raising Pakistan's liabilities to the kingdom to $8 billion and deepening financial interdependence. This is where the bigger picture comes into view. The UAE's recall and Saudi Arabia's support are not happening in isolation. They reflect a quiet but real realignment happening across the Gulf, with Pakistan caught in the middle of it. Part 5. The bigger picture. What Pakistan is navigating right now is something genuinely difficult and genuinely important. Islamabad has begun to exert sizable regional and global influence and is being courted by states across the world. It has found success as the primary negotiator between the United States and Iran. Pakistan has also played a role in the Lebanon ceasefire, and regionally it has worked to engage landlocked Central Asian states and countries across the Middle East. But with that influence comes pressure. Every country that wants Pakistan's ear also wants Pakistan's loyalty. As one analyst told Al Jazeera, The intra-Gulf disagreements over a ceasefire and diplomatic dialogue with Iran created the need for exactly the kind of actor Pakistan is, one with ties to both sides. Pakistan's ties with both Washington and Tehran made it a natural choice for a mediator. The same quality that made Pakistan invaluable as a peacemaker, its refusal to fully commit to one camp, is precisely what made it politically costly in others' eyes. So, was talking to everyone Pakistan's biggest mistake? The answer depends entirely on what you value. If you measure success in financial stability and alliance management, then yes, Pakistan paid a real price for its neutrality, a $3.5 billion price. But if you measure success in historical significance, in lives potentially saved, in a country rewriting its own global reputation, then Pakistan's willingness to talk to everyone may turn out to be its greatest achievement. The world rarely rewards peacemakers in the short term, but history usually does. Pakistan helped stop a war, and the conversation about what that cost and what it was worth is only just beginning.